I came across this article on Chrystul Kizer in the online journal Oxygen, and it contains some interesting tidbits that sort of paint a different light on what took place between Chrystul Kizer and Randall Volar, the man she shot. If you're not familiar with the case, Chrystul Kizer is a young black female accused of murdering Randall Volar. Her defense strategy is rather interesting, and I always wondered why she wasn't claiming just a pure, simple self-defense. I think I now know. Hello out there. I am trying to get through.
With his powerful brainwaves cradled in the warmth of reasoning, it's time for Johnnie Walker Dread to straighten you out on a thing or two. Emanating all the way from exciting Las Vegas, Oklahoma, it's the Johnnie Walker Dread Show.
Okay, so I'm here visiting a friend, so I don't have my usual haunt. And so I apologize for the video quality and audio quality, but I'm doing the best I can. So let's go ahead and read this. This dates to December 20th, 2019. This is well before the Kyle Rittenhouse shootings, of course. And the title, Wisconsin teenager could face life in prison for killing predator accused of sex trafficking her and others for cash. Now I'm going to go ahead and read this in a anti-Kyle kind of fashion. We all know how they're talking about Kyle Rittenhouse and all the dumb arguments they're proposing. So I'm going to go ahead and read this, but then I'm going to be referring back to the way that they would interpret this if it was Kyle being charged with these crimes. When police arrived at Randall Volar's Kenosha, Wisconsin home in the early morning hours of June 5th, 2018, it was engulfed in flames. Inside, detectives found the 34-year-old man's body slumped in a living room chair. He had been shot twice in the head. Okay, so we've got to think about this. Self-defense? Well, he's sitting in a chair. Could he actually have been attacking her while sitting in the chair? Seems a bit unlikely. I'm trying to imagine what that would have looked like. Not clear. His corpse was badly charred and unrecognizable, according to a criminal complaint obtained by Oxygen.com. Months earlier, Volar had been arrested on child rape charges and was also accused of sexually abusing multiple teenage girls, some as young as 12, and filming the lurid acts, according to the Washington Post. And there seems to be ample evidence to support that. This man was a total scumbag. We all get that. Police seized a trove of child pornography, as well as roughly 20 home videos depicting Volar having sex with underage black girls. The case was pending at the time of his death. He was facing up to 40 years in prison. Okay, now that sets the stage here. But it still wasn't clear to authorities who exactly wanted Volar dead. In the scorched ruins of his home, police found scant evidence. But a BMW, which was normally parked in his driveway, was missing. Milwaukee police recovered Volar's vehicle and discovered a Family Dollar store receipt inside, as well as a Samsung cell phone. These clues led detectives to 4 teenage suspects. And I forgot to mention that in another article, and I'll see if I can hunt it down, I think it was in the Kenosha News, they're claiming that Chrystul didn't even know whether he was alive or dead when she set fire to the house. Okay, so let's go ahead and move over to another news item. This is from the Kenosha News. This is dated June 11th, 2018. Teenage girl in custody for homicide. I'm going to skip down to some interesting items that they are making claims here that also maybe explain what's going on with Chrystul. Okay, so here's the section titled Broadcast on Facebook. Now this is going to go over stuff that we just mentioned, but I'm going to go ahead and read the whole section anyway. Hours after the fire, Gravely said Kizer had broadcast on Facebook Live with a gun and admitted that she had shot someone. Well, wait a minute now. Isn't one of the dumb arguments that people are making about Kyle Rittenhouse was that he admitted to shooting people? He said she was taken into custody in Milwaukee at the home of her boyfriend. According to Gravely, Kizer told several versions of what happened at Volar's home, so she's changed her story. Remember the whole deal about Kyle Rittenhouse and the baseball bat? You know, like that little tidbit there should get him convicted here. But when she was confronted with a Facebook photo of herself at the residence in the hours before the fire, she admitted she shot Volar. Okay, so she first said that she had nothing to do with it. Okay. Gravely said Kizer told police she was taking a laptop computer from Volar and that at some point she pulled a gun. He said Volar was sitting in a chair and that she told him she was leaving, but then the victim flinched, and when he flinched, she shot him. All right, that's a different version that we heard. According to our earlier reports, he was raping her at the time. Because she had seen something similar on television, Kizer decided to burn the house to cover up evidence, Gravely said. He said she told investigators she was not sure whether or not Volar was alive. Oh man, that doesn't sound good. Again, these are allegations and these are made in the Kenosha News, so we have no way of verifying that any of this is correct. She poured alcohol around the victim and lit the scene on fire, according to her not knowing if the victim was alive or dead at that time, Gravely said. Okay, now keep in mind, Gravely is the district attorney, so he's making these claims, so obviously he must have some basis for making these claims. Detectives learned that the teenager uploaded a selfie to Facebook that appeared to show her at Volar's home hours before he was killed, so she had been there for a while. Following Volar's death, Kizer then posted a live video brandishing a pistol and ammunition, police said. Kizer allegedly told the camera she wasn't afraid to kill again and spoke of a rich white individual. So let me ask you a question, okay, right up front. She mentions that she spoke of a rich white individual, obviously a person she had shot. Is this grounds for a civil rights violation by the feds? What if Kyle Rittenhouse had shot black people and mentioned in an online post that he had shot black individuals? Would that be grounds for a civil rights violation? Of course it would. They would be nailing him left and right for that. So are the feds going to come in here now and point out that she mentioned the race of her victim? Detectives also discovered she shared an article about the fire at Volar's home. Now here we go. What is one of the common arguments made about Kyle Rittenhouse? He showed no remorse. Does this not show no remorse? Again, I'm taking this from an anti-Kyle standpoint. To me, this looks like perfect ammunition for a claim that she showed no remorse about what happened. Kizer eventually told investigators she had been drinking and eating pizza at Volar's home on the night of his death. Okay, now that brings up an interesting question here. If she was eating pizza and drinking with him, then how likely was it that he attacked and tried to rape her later? Well, that's a question that will be raised to the jury. She pumped 2 bullets into his skull and fled in his BMW, she told police, after he tried to sexually assault her. Volar's killing, she insisted, was in self-defense. Now, this is kind of where it gets interesting. Now, one thing you have to keep in mind, she's known Randall Volar for quite a while, I think about a couple of years. So she's been having sex with him on and off for quite a while. He started to touch my leg and then, like I had jumped, and tell him that I didn't want him to do that, she told the Post. Okay, so she's been with this guy for at least a year, and all of a sudden, she freaks out because he puts his hand on her leg. Does that seem likely? Let's read on. I tried to get up to get away from him, but I had tripped and I fell on the floor and he had got on top of me and he was trying to rip my pants off, my jeans that I had on, but he was found sitting in his chair. So how did he get in the chair? What she's describing here does not sound like the crime scene. Could she have lifted him up into the chair? Well, believe it or not, a human body is actually pretty heavy. It's not easy to just lift somebody up with her size. She's small. The other thing is, why would she do that? Why would you take a person who had tried to attack you, this is a crime scene, and you're going to try to make a claim that the person attacked you and tried to rape you? Why would you deliberately put him in a chair which would completely negate your claim? That makes no sense. Okay. Kizer told police her boyfriend had purchased the .38 caliber handgun used to kill Volar. So her boyfriend buys the handgun and gives it to her. Is he facing charges? Like Dominic Black? Have they arrested him for that? Is that not a straw purchase? And this is a handgun. That means it's a federal violation. Is he facing any charges for that? Also, she's a minor in possession. I thought that being minor in possession negated any kind of self-defense claim. So all you anti-Kyles out there still want to hold to that argument? Police accused Kizer of stealing cash and a laptop from Volar as well. She was charged with first-degree murder in his death. Okay, we also have theft involved. If you're accused of a crime, can you claim self-defense? But Kizer's case is unfolding at a time when the country's courts, prosecutors, and law enforcement agencies are rethinking how to treat sex trafficking victims who may have broken the law in the course of being victimized. Kizer, who had been sex trafficked for profit online by Volar, was also one of the victims pictured in his self-made child porn videos police had previously seized and were investigating. And she shot him in the head after years of surviving his sexual abuse. Kizer said she met Volar in 2016 after he responded to her posting on Backpage.com, the classified site suspected of selling sex, which was shut down nearly 2 years ago. Kizer told the police she created the posting because she needed money for snacks and school supplies. Over time, Volar supposedly showered her with affection, bought her fancy meals, and let her drive his car. Okay, this is grooming. We get it. Yeah. This is deliberate action by him to bring her into the fold. But he was soon selling the young woman on the same sex classified website they met on, shelling her to and from Milwaukee motels where random men would have sex with the teenager for cash, which Volar allegedly kept, according to the Post. Bank officials later told detectives that Volar had conducted more than $1.5 million in online money transfers. Man, that's, wow, okay. Lucrative. The pattern of those transactions, they said, were typically consistent with human trafficking. All right, so here are the two individuals involved. The man on the left is dead. The one on the right has been charged with his murder. In some ways, Kizer's case mirrors that of Centoya Brown, who at 16 fatally shot Johnnie Michael Allen, a Tennessee real estate broker who supposedly paid her $150 for sex. I don't really like the idea of doing these comparisons, really. I mean, I don't know if we gain much from it. Tennessee Governor Bill Haslam granted Brown's clemency, and she was released earlier this year after serving 15 years of a life sentence. Chrystul's story, unfortunately, follows a pattern in the United States where the state fails black women and black girls and then punishes them for acting in life-saving ways. Santara Michaels, a criminal justice activist, told Oxygen.com. Notice that Santara Michaels has bought completely into Chrystul's story. Michaels, 29, is one of the founders of Free Chrystul Kizer, a Facebook group she formed with others who are calling for charges against the Wisconsin teenager to be dropped. Okay, so let me get this straight. He is found, allegedly, I don't know because this is all we're getting here, so let me see if I got this straight. Supposedly, Randall Volar was found dead sitting in his chair. And her description of what took place does not jive with that at all. That doesn't necessarily mean that she's guilty. But a man has been shot and killed. And there is a person out there who did it. And don't you think that we should at least be trying her in front of a jury? I mean, dropping charges? The man was not only shot dead in his chair, but she tried to burn the body. She did. She burned the body to a crisp. And her charges should just be dropped? Really? She sends Kizer jailhouse letters and regularly corresponds with Kizer's mother, she said. Michaels, who described Kizer as a talented violinist and artist, like that matters, it doesn't matter at all. If she intentionally killed the man, it comes down to self-defense. Her life was in danger, so she acted in a way to save it. That's Chrystul Kizer's testimony. That has not been established. Michaels said she's frustrated with authorities who took their time and she said treated Volar too leniently in building their earlier case against him. I agree with that. Michael Gravely's office really botched this one. They should have had Randall Volar in jail, out on bond, if he could raise it. Long time ago, they released him. Where were the Kenosha police and the district attorney when Volar was harming her and others? She asked. Good question. They knew what Volar was doing, and yet they did nothing. That is true. I covered this in another video. In 2018, Volar was released from police custody without posting bail. Okay, so he has been charged with child pornography, sex trafficking, and he was released without bail. What the hell? In most states, child sex crime charges carry bonds of tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars. It's not clear to Michaels why Volar was released without shelling out a single cent after his initial arrest. By contrast, Kizer was initially held on a $1 million bond following her arrest. Wait a minute, she's a young black female and she's been accused of murder and she was given a bond? By the way, that was lowered to $400,000. I don't want to hear this bullshit that somehow if Kyle was black, he would not have been given bond. Okay? The proof is right here that that is purely false. Kizer's lawyers argued last month that she shouldn't be held criminally responsible under affirmative defense, a broad law that protects sex trafficking victims who may have committed crimes as a direct result of being trafficked. We believe that if we present some evidence Ms. Kizer is a victim of trafficking, and we also believe we can do that, and that her actions were a direct result of trafficking, then the state has the burden to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that those things did not exist. Okay, so the burden of proof is on the state. However, let's read on. However, a judge ultimately ruled the affirmative defense didn't apply to Kizer's case, and I'm not surprised by that. Prosecutors noted that the statute had never been used to shield a human or sex trafficking victim from murder charges. I've never seen a case like this before, Amanda Peters, a professor of law at South Texas College of Law, Houston, told Oxygen. Peters, a former prosecutor and a criminal defense attorney, is sympathetic to Kizer's situation, but she too doesn't recall an affirmative defense ever being applied to a murder case. It typically shields human trafficking victims from being prosecuted for things like prostitution or immigration fraud. She explained, it has never been raised to apply to murder. And the problem with it is that if you can make it apply to murder, you're basically giving prostitutes a license to kill. This person is sex trafficking me. Well, then I'll just kill him. And I'll say, well, he was sex trafficking me, so it's okay to kill the person. Our laws don't work like that. Nobody has a license to kill in this country. The Kenosha County District Attorney's Office has also argued that Volar's death was premeditated. They said Kizer planned to steal Volar's car days before his death and texted acquaintances about killing him. Okay, so they have text messages they're claiming that she made days before the killing. That does sound premeditated. Kizer's attorneys declined to comment on Thursday. I'm not certain why they would decline to comment because it seems to me like a lot of their strategy is going to hinge around raising public sentiment towards Chrystul Kizer. Here's an opportunity to dispel a claim made public about her. Why would you decline to comment? Not sure. In 2017, Kizer was convicted for eluding police in a stolen vehicle during a traffic stop, according to a separate criminal complaint obtained by Oxygen. Now, this is not going to be relevant to the actual murder charge. She was a getaway driver, she confessed, in a small crew that hijacked cars. She said they were responsible for 20 carjackings in South Milwaukee. Kizer was sentenced to 14 months in prison on those charges. In another video, I disclosed that there had been some charges against her before. I didn't know that they were this extensive. 20 carjackings. Wow. Okay. If Kyle Rittenhouse had been charged in 20 hijackings, you don't think the anti-Kyles would be making hay out of that? He got into a fist fight, and they want him convicted of murder because of it. Do you see what kind of person he is? Well, he must be a murderer. Look at him punch that girl. Well, hell, she's in there stealing cars. These are hijackings. Those are violent crimes. Kizer's murder trial is scheduled to begin on March 16. Online records show. The 19-year-old faces life in prison if convicted. Kizer also faces arson, auto theft, bail jumping, and gun charges. She is not going to be using, I think, the self-defense claim. She is not going to be claiming that she had to shoot Randall Volar because she faced serious bodily injury. Why? I don't think that the evidence supports it. I think the fact that he was sitting in his chair makes that a very difficult defense. So they're going to have to go after this safe harbor strategy. And that is, they're going to be claiming that because she was sex trafficked, essentially that means that she can't be charged for murder because it was directly related to her sex trafficking. Okay. The judge has already ruled on that one. They are now appealing that. We'll see what the appeals court says, but I have a feeling that she's not going to win that. We'll have to wait and see what the appeals court says about her affirmative defense, but I don't think it's going to happen. I think she's in serious trouble. Like my video and subscribe to my channel.